Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 50. This is our weekly music production, technology, and marketing podcast. Today we're talking about our favorite free plugins for February, the latest in the ever-changing Instagram landscape. I wish Howard was here because I wanted to hear him, or just see him eye roll right there. And then some mixing tips and tricks. We are live. Thanks to everyone who's joining us in the chat. Let us know what you're up to this week, what music you've been working on. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Curtis. How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm here. I'm slightly sleepy, but in the best of ways. It's all good. It's lovely to see you. I haven't seen much of you this week.
I know. We've both been very busy. It's been good to see you. We had some technical difficulties, as is usual, with Audionautic Network, Deep Space Network live streams, but we're here. It's good. Unfortunately, Eon Lake couldn't join us at the moment. He may be able to come in halfway through, but he will probably pop his head in the chat, as we love to hear his take on everything. What have you been up to, Curtis?
It's been one of those weeks. I've been doing some lights. I've been doing some sound. I've been working in the theater, and yeah, I've been kind of taking a step back. I was making stuff at the end of last week, and I was like, "This is more of the same," and I don't like that. So as well, it was kind of nice as well because like the real world, so to speak, got a bit busier and stuff. So taking a bit of a seat back, working on some journaling, actively not listening to as much music. Trying to rest the ears and just trying to listen to the sounds of the world for a bit. Just to kind of see what's going on. That's been me, and lots of emails. So yeah,
lots of
good.
emails. Yeah, that's always fun. So nature's your soundtrack for emailing this week.
It has been, yeah. I think the grand realities of playing music very loud day in and day out is straining on the ears, and I'm trying not to make it any worse. And also just the interesting things that you can hear. Like I work just a bit outside the city, up in the forest, or near a wood. So you get a nice bird song every now and then, which is really nice and peaceful.
I hope you're field recording all of that, right?
I will get around to it. Yeah.
Oh.
It's been a while. Well, they're there. Spring is coming. It's still cold here in Prague, but my Zoom is looking at me. I'm thinking, bird song should come in.
I can't find my Zoom. I don't know where it went. Every time I go somewhere, I'm like, dang, I should have my Zoom, and then I look for it, I can't find it, so I just use my phone. But
this is as well. Like more and more, I'm using the phone. Just the weird, just the everyday stuff, like snapshots of dings from trams and buses and trains and stuff like that. The clickety clack and the stuff that you just have on you. It's the best field recorder, as they say.
Yeah, a slightly different note, but you were talking about hearing. Do you mix and do your music loudly, or do you do it at a low level?
I'll tend to mix at a low level. I used to mix really loud, and then I met J-Bell, and he was like, "What are you doing, bro?" And I was like, this makes sense. So yeah, since past a year or so, I work at a lot lower level. You have to, I think. I think it's a lot. I think it's nicer.
I feel like you hear a lot more of the nuance, and you can kind of like. Loudness masks some of the inequalities between different parts in a mix, I find. So when it's low, it's like you're really hearing it as it should be, and then you're not getting that excitement of the loudness, so you're not just like, oh, this sounds great because it's so loud. You're hearing each part for what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
J-Bell
says, you better recognize,
Very much so. Hello to everyone in the chat. Welcome. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Bendu, Hydra Fighter, J-Bell. It's nice to see you, Eon Lake. Hopefully you can get in here soon. Thank you ever so much for joining us. We are here because you are here. So we love the fact that you can kind of sit down with us. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Very much so. What have you been doing, dude?
Well, I don't know if you can see. Let me lower my other laptop and show this. I got...
MIDI Mountain.
Yeah, MIDI Mountain. I almost said Dallas Desk. That's old iteration. Yeah, this is MIDI Mountain in its near final form. So I've got the circuit. Soon, there'll be MIDI running. It's already running into the MS-1. Soon, it'll also run into, I think for now, the Dreadbox Erebus. Then I've got the Minilog, my Korgs, the TR-08, and then, of course, the Prophet. And I'm planning to do a little DAWless Jam creation live tomorrow over on my YouTube. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can head over to Sunwarper. I think it's at Sunwarper now. YouTube has handles.
It
but
is,
yeah, I'll be going live. I think I'm going to go live at this time, 11 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. Just do probably like an hour of making... I don't know if I'm going to do a generative track with the circuit or something like a DAWless synthwave, but I guess the chat can help me decide when we go live. But that's the plan.
So that's 11 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. UTC, which is 8 Central. That'll be interesting. It'll be nice to see.
It should be fun.
MIDI Mountain is there. It's looking awesome and shiny. So,
the issue right now is I don't have enough cables for everything at the moment because I haven't had a setup like this in a long time. So I have to figure that out. But I have enough for like the live stream tomorrow. The SP will not be making an appearance though, shockingly.
Really?
Yeah, I'm keeping the SP.
Are you feeling all right?
I'm keeping it's feeling all right. It's in the house right now. I'm keeping the SP for at the moment I'm working on like a portable live set for an upcoming thing, so it's not a part of the desk, and I might keep it that way and just sometimes send audio into it and then like have it on my proper desk and not on MIDI Mountain, so I can just like take it away from everything and have it if I need it anywhere. That
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So again, it's about, we were talking about this last week, weren't we? The compartmentalization. There
You'll get there. You'll get there.
Compartmentalization of the productive process. You have your space, you have your studio, and then you have the stuff that you take out and go out into the big wide world about. It's always a good place to be.
Yeah.
Completely. Guys in the chat, we'd love to know what you've been doing. Bendu very lovingly sent me over a project file the other week. We were talking after our Discord chat for the patrons, or with the patrons, I should say. Sent me over a wonderful project file using MIDI with drums to trigger random pads.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, it's sick.
So give really a little context of what that is for those of us who weren't able to join.
Well, we were talking in a patron chat about MIDI drums and the drum rack in Ableton, and about triggering random drums as opposed to triggering like a beat or anything like that. So it's a random selection of drum tracks, essentially.
Yeah.
And Bendu's created a lovely little template to make it work. And you run it through MIDI, and it will essentially keep randomizing what you're playing, and not just what you're playing, but the tone and the timbre and stuff like that, the textures and stuff, which is really nice.
So it almost gives it kind of a live drummer feel, right? Where every hit is just a little different, and you're always getting more like a groove to it and everything. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Very grateful to Ben. So I'm been having some fun exploring with that. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can you do.
You got the shortcut, because I think, Ben, you can correct me, but I think he said it took him a little while to map all that together. So you got the cheat sheet. He just gave it to you. Cheat sheet,
yeah. Very much. I'm very humbled for it. It was a very nice thing to come up with. Look at it. And it's interesting because Ableton is a relatively new door for me. As in, I've only been using it really for about 3 years or such. It was FL for 10 years before that, you know. So I'm still very much learning, still very much kind of like, I use it as a DAW, but I know there's all these kind of eccentricities of Ableton that I'm just completely unaware of.
Yeah.
So it's lovely that's why I love our Discord, because it's just full of information for people that can kind of get that information, you know, if they need it.
Information.
I ran out
of that information. That's all right. That's all right. I think that's a good enough way to put it.
Very much so. But yeah, this show is brought to us by our patrons, and a lot of our patrons are in the chat. We thank you very much indeed, as we say. Your insights and your fuel allows us to keep doing this, and we really appreciate it. If you fancy becoming a patron and you like what we do, you can head to our link in the description, patreon.com/audionautic, and pledges start at $2, which is really nice, and there's a whole budding community there.
Yeah, we have exclusive chats over on Discord and Twitter for our patrons, and we also have monthly hangouts where we talk all kinds of gear. We share what we're working on, kinds of stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. It's really in the spirit of the whole motto of Audionautic: together we grow. We just want to make a community where we can talk about things like synth stuff that if we spoke to anybody else, their eyes would just glaze over and they'd be like, "Oh, that's great." But here we all know what we're talking about. You know, if we talk about tweaking an LFO or syncing it to this or that, everybody will know, and we can all be like, "Yeah, that's great." Just like, I don't know who else you could tell about those drums. Like, oh yeah, every time you hit it, it'll hit a different one. Except, you know, fellow musicians. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just nice. It's a nice little group of like-minded people, where, you know, like you say, you can bring a different type of LFO to the table, and people are like, "Oh, dude, what is that?" You know, it's great. So yeah, really
so if you want to join, the link is in the description. And special shout out to our Audionaut engineer, McKinleyA.
Yeah, he's a dude. So thank you very much indeed. Yeah, okay, speaking
Real quick,
of...
Bendu says that it took him a while to put that rack together. Learned a lot, though. And here's a teaser. Might not take as long the next time.
I'd like to see upgrades. I'm really curious, Ben, as to where you go with it, and where you take it. So yeah, keep us in the loop with that, because I'm looking at because it's the downside of the cheat sheet, because I have seen it for what it is. I don't appreciate the effort that's gone into it, or I can't appreciate, like, the, you know, if you pull an engine apart, you know how it works, that kind of thing. But if you just get given a car, you got no idea. So I'd be curious, Ben, as to where it takes you in your sonic adventures, basically. Yeah, very much so. Speaking of sonic adventures, should we have a look at the news this week?
Yes, definitely. This is exciting. We love talking about free stuff, and that's basically the episode today. Before we get into it, though, let us know in the chat if you found any really useful, preferably free plugins, but even if it's just a new one you checked out, or it's been in existence for a while but it's new to you, let us know. We're always trying to see what else is out there, but we've got a couple that we found this month that either came out this month. Actually, both of them came out this month, and they're free, and I believe they'll stay free. It's not like a time limited offer or anything like that. So yeah, which one do you want to start with?
Should we start with the Spitfire?
Yeah, I think so.
It's Spitfire.
Might as well talk piano first.
You might as well talk piano first, exactly, before we go into anything else. Yeah, we all know Spitfire Labs, wonderful collection of free VSTs, so it will stay free. Spitfire known to be quite expensive, but they do have their lab stuff, and it's really nice. And they have just released their Autograph Grand, which is a very nice piece. Sunwarper, you found this originally. I don't want to take it away from your fire, so to speak.
No fire is taken.
No fire is taken. Well, okay, so it's based on what? It's based on a Yamaha C6 Grand.
Yeah, the one in Woodshed Recording Studios in Malibu. So they say the prestigious Woodshed Recording Studios, yes.
Well, maybe I should put prestigious in front of Curtis and make a whole different thing.
I mean, you can. They then elaborate and say, graced by hundreds of musical legends from Lady Gaga, Paul Simon, Barbra Streisand, Metallica, Korn, and now Curtis with this sample.
Very much so. I did have time to have a little play with it today, and we have got a little video queued up, ready to go. It is lush. It is really nice.
Yeah, I checked out his video because I don't get to listen when we do it live because of the Streamlabs, so I checked it out before, and it's really beautiful. And I think you said you didn't use any external effects, nothing. It's just the raw sound. And they even say, let me pull it back up, that little bit about it. It's featuring just one preset with pedal up, down controls, and faithfully captured release triggers.
Yeah, and you notice that as well. So like the you notice that as well with the idea with playing, the differences between playing with high velocity and low velocity. It really does change the way it sounds, as well as that when you're looking, if you have the pedal down, it's very what I imagine would be true to a real grand piano, essentially.
Yeah, well, I think we should check it out.
Let's check it out.
All right. Yeah, so that was the Autograph Grand from Spitfire. That is lush.
It
I
is.
can't believe there's like no effects, nothing coloring it. It's just what it is. And I mean, it's free. There's tons of awesome plugins from Spitfire Labs. We've talked about them before. I'd be curious if anybody in the chat has checked this out already or is planning to check it out after that beautiful demo by Curtis. But yeah, you got to play it. What's your take, Curtis?
Yeah, along the same lines. So very, very lush, very just out of the box. It's ready to go. And with it, you don't really have to do. You can add a load of reverb, compression, etc., and make it work in that regard. But you don't need to, which is nice.
Yeah.
Spitfire itself has the ability to increase or decrease reverb, which is unique to that particular plugin at the time. I didn't use any of it, and it sounded beautiful. And that's just noodling, and it's a good noodle. It's a good noodler. Now, if you think about if you can spend lots of money on things like Complete Control, and there's wonderful VSTs in there, and there's loads of great pianos out there, and this is a real step up for Labs, in my humble opinion, because they do the experimental stuff, then they did the celebrity stuff, but like we talked about the Philip Glass piano. Mm-hmm. This is just nice. It's a wonderful one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, when I was watching it the first time, I'm downloading that right after we end this. I could never have enough like good piano, natural piano sounds.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, about the idea of layering different pianos together, and I've been experimenting recently, having put felt piano in with a grand piano, then put the Rhodes over the top, and those three together make a really nice ensemble, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I always put like a grand and a felt, or an upright and a felt, and then one of them, I forget which one, but I'll put a lot of reverb on it. A certain kind of reverb, shall we say? Kind of reverb. A certain kind of reverb. And in the chat, Hydro Fighter says, I think it sounds pretty good for a freebie. It's a little bright for my taste, so I probably won't get it. I prefer the upright sound versus the grand. Yeah, I get that. There's each one is acquired taste for what you want to do. And yeah, but I mean, you can't knock it. It's free. So if it is, and you never know, you may have a need for that sort of sound or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying Hydro Fighter, you should grab it. I'm just saying, like, it's great that it's free.
It is, yeah. I think as well, the notion of having that very cinematic sound, it's a rather bright sound. I personally love it in that regard. I've always go for an upright. There's a particular upright in Complete Control that I like. But it's definitely one to just experiment with.
I'd like to hear that with the Arturia Tape Mellowify with the low pass just a little bit. Just to take out a little bit of that brightness, put some wow and flutter on it, raise the drive a little bit. I think that would sound really cool. And in the chat, J-Bell says, if I heard only audio, I wouldn't be able to tell it's VST. I agree, but then I wouldn't have been able to see Curtis noodling, so.
That might be for the best, you never know.
But no, he's got a point. I was thinking that too when I heard you playing it, when I was watching it the first time, and you were like, yeah, there's no effects. I was floored. It's a really good sound.
It is. I did consider playing around and adding a load of effects to it. I was like, you know what? If we're going to demo it, let's do it right. Let's do it proper. We talk about mixing. We talk about sound design in the round robin later. But this was purely just what can it do on its own, and that's a good way of doing it. I think if we're going to test these things.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great way to do it. It's easy to make anything sound really good, or typically with a bunch of effects or a reverb of a certain kind. But how it stands as its own is huge, I think. So, yeah, I'm glad you did it that way.
Cool. So, yeah, that's that one. Now, a caveat for the next one we've got, it's another freebie, but we don't have a demo for this one. We just stumbled across it. Or again, Sunwarper was all about filling the docket this week. It was all about filling the docket. So, yeah.
I was procrastinating doing a bunch of logistics for something, so I was like, oh, let's see what free stuff there is.
Let's do that. It's always a good way. Sample Science are back. Sample Science is always fun, always growing, always doing something different each time. They've just released the bells. Tell us about this one, Sunwarper.
Yeah, so this is their words. The bells is a virtual instrument featuring the sound of tuned bell sounds. Different sound design techniques have been used to create a range of highly usable bell tones, from re-synthesized acoustic bell to FM synthesis and physical models. The instrument also features a nice set of real-life acoustic bell sounds, and the onboard effects of the plugin version make this plugin highly versatile for different genres of music, from trap to modern classical music. And the reason I paused at trap was when I went to hear the demo, I did read that part, and I was just expecting, some like big orchestral bell sound, and it's just this like trap thing. And I was like, all right, I know this is up Curtis's alley. Before we hear the sound, a couple features: 15 bell sounds, multi LFO, distortion, reverb, chorus delay, low pass, high pass filter, low CPU usage, that's huge, amplitude, range controls, and 3 voice modes: polyphonic, monophonic, and legato.
Yeah, very interesting. I love how more VST companies or sample science in general, low CPU usage. I champion this, and they are always good in that front.
Yeah, it reminds me of Diva.
Yeah, sure it does. Yeah,
in a parallel universe.
Can you imagine if Diva was low CPU?
That'd be amazing.
They would be.
Real quick, J Bell in the chat says, "I have not seen a good Bell VST ever." Well, let us know if this one changes your mind. Trap will unify the world, right? That's what you say, Curtis, right? So maybe he'll be convinced after this.
Hopefully. I used to have a colleague who was obsessed with bells on VSTs on tracks, and they never came out right. And well, these are these ones. Let's put it this way. So if you going to stop it, but that low bell has actually just mixed up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll cut it in a minute. Won't give you the last 16 seconds. They need to do that. But yeah, so I was just thinking the whole way through about putting that through some sort of granular effect, or putting that through some sort of through a chain of ping pong delays, and just using that. Yeah. If the Grand, if the Autograph Grand is one that's straight out of the box and ready to go, that one is very much experimentation is your game than that one, I feel.
I would like to hear it as it is, rather than behind or in front of a bunch of like trap drums and bass. You know what I mean? Like, what is it? Because I feel like those first bells are probably the FM ones, and then we start getting more of the physically modeled or the sampled ones. I'd just be curious to hear it like alone, to see what these things actually sound like. And again, we didn't get a chance to demo it. We just wanted to show. We saw it. It looked cool, and it's free. It seems like a very interesting sound design, like you're saying, platform. Like you can take these sounds and do a lot with it. Add ping pong delays, some reverb, even something weird like a resonator or pitch shifter or something. You could get some weird stuff from that. I bet that would sound really cool. But I'd just be very curious to hear what it sounds like on its own as a bell sample. Like, yeah.
If you're interested in it, let us know. I'm going to download. I always download the free stuff. I could always play around, make a little video about what we can do with it. Guys in the chat or anyone watching back, let us know if it speaks to you. Obviously, this has been made with the idea of catching the trap demographic, which is completely understandable. Trap is a very popular form of beat making. I wonder how different you can make it, though. That'd be
well, I mean, the sounds in it showcase a vast difference in tone. Like those first ones are very kind of like fake bell, and then the melody that starts coming in, it sounds much more like a real bell, to me at least. And chat, you can let us know your take, but and Curtis, I'd love to hear your take. But yeah, it seems like there is some variety with what there is, and it looks like the different versions of download, because it has like a sampler version, a contact version, have slightly different features. Curtis, you might be more familiar because you've downloaded more from Sample Science, but like it's saying the contact version has amplitude and filter ADSRs as well as reverb. Decent sampler version features the same as the plugin version, but has different effects and sound shaping capabilities. So if you are going to download it, make sure you download the one that has the specifics you want.
Yeah, well, I think especially when it comes to Contact, because there's a free version of Contact and there's a paid version of Contact, and those who run with Contact tend to have two separate VSTs depending on what you've got to upsell you in a way. I'm not so familiar with Decent Sampler at all. I'm not going to comment on that for now, but I just the idea that they have different things in there for different ideas. So it's, for example, it says the Contact 5.6 version requires the full version. So they give you extra bells and whistles, no pun intended, if you have the paid version of it, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I just wanted to, if anybody is going to grab it, just know there's a couple different versions, so get the one that fits your needs best.
Exactly. So yeah, that's our free plugins for February. More in March, I presume, once they stumble along. It's always the best way.
I don't know. February's stumbling, man. It's already the 15th. I'm like, what?
Where's this month gone? I meant more in the way we were just discussing it the other week, weren't we? Like planning for shows and making it happen and like that kind of thing. It's like, you know, the stories that we tell are the stories that we find that come to us depending on the releases of certain things that come out. You know, we had a whole load of analog gear towards the beginning of December and Christmas time because that's the time when people are releasing all that stuff, and now it's free VSTs because that's when all the free VST people are doing their stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sample Science is always putting stuff out though. I get emails because I downloaded something because of you one time, and then now I get emails all the time, and I'm glad I haven't unsubscribed because it's really cool. A lot of it is free, so like this, so I appreciate that. They put out a lot.
They do. I love Sample Science. I think they're still relatively small, and I think that they're always just creating more stuff and putting them out. And they're really similar to where Labs were a couple of years ago. They've gone from kind of semi-sampled well with experimental things to actually more mainstream kind of malleable tones that you can get away with using out of the box, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, completely unnecessary. I am just not looking at the screen because I'm just queuing up our marketing video. So yeah.
I thought you were being antisocial.
Yeah, you know me. Just be left alone to do my thing. But yeah, that is the news that we've got. If there's anything that we've missed for the week, please let us know. We search for these things, but we are not the bastion of all knowledge, and we love hearing from you and what you have been finding interesting. So let us know.
Yeah, you can always head over to our Discord. The link is in the description, and let us know if you find anything cool or just want to talk gear.
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. So let's move on to the marketing minute, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got quite a bit to get through with this one. Go ahead, Sunwarper.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because I wish Ian Lake was here because he was mentioning this last week. I think before we went live, you and he were talking, and the ever-changing landscape of Instagram in the last few months has just kept changing ever since they did that. We're TikTok, now we're kind of not again. You know, they did all those tests where they made the full screen. It's just crazy. And then people have been talking about the algorithm changing drastically where Reels reach. Boy, that was hard to say. Reels reach has gone down drastically for a lot of people. And so Adam Mosseri, the Instagram head, somewhat commented on that in a live stream. Now, I wasn't able to catch the live stream, but Adam Ivy, who's a great YouTuber for music marketing and things like that, did a video where he talked about some of the stuff he covered, and we have a clip from Ivy's video where Mosseri talks, and I think we have some of Adam speaking as well. So I just wanted to, before we move to that though, so basically what he's saying is that Instagram is trying to be a bit more balanced in their approach to pushing content. So instead of just do everything with Reels, they're saying based on what a person likes and interacts with on Instagram, they will show that more to that person. That's kind of the gist of it. So if people interact with photos more, they will show photos more. If people interact with reels more, they'll show reels more. So it's kind of more of a balanced approach to the algorithm. But I wouldn't say they're moving back to photos, which is what a lot of people kind of are like clamoring for at the moment. But let's watch this video and we can talk about it.
Okay, I'm going to share the video with sound this far. Okay, let's make sure that we're not muted.
Stand video in 2022 and pushed ranking too far and basically showed too many videos and not enough photos. Wow, that's pretty huge of him to admit that he feels like they made a mistake. And he continues on by saying, we've since balanced. So things like how often someone likes photos versus videos, or how often someone comments on a photo versus videos are roughly equal, which is a good sign that things are being balanced.
Perfectly balanced.
So,
of course, yeah. All right.
As all things should be, yeah. So I think it's an interesting point that they're kind of seemingly course correcting. We'll see, but it has changed how we're going to approach. So as some of you know, if you've been watching the live streams, this month we're experimenting with daily shorts and TikTok posts. Next month we're going to get into testing out the Instagram algorithm, seeing whether this is true, that it's going to be like if we do a video one day, a photo one day, and then maybe a carousel one day. So 3 posts in a week, let's say, but they're all of different content types. We want to see if that hits the algorithm in a different way. And also if it revitalizes the actual, like, your followers. Because hitting the algorithm and reaching new people is great, but it's also important to reach your current followers and, dialogue with them and talk with them and things like that. So we want to test out both of those facets.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a move in the right direction, and we're going to be testing it, like we say. We have to kind of work out the details of that, but we've been enjoying testing this month, and we might as well continue the testing because life is just one big test if you think about it. So,
and at the end of the month, we'll talk about what we found with the shorts and TikTok. I know Curtis did daily Instagram reels last month, and we talked about that at the end of the month. But we want to keep testing all these different things because it's not just Instagram. All of these social media landscapes, for lack of a better word, are kind of ever changing and reacting to each other and moving things around and things like that. So we're just seeing what's what as it stands at the start of 2023 and how long it will go for in that way.
Exactly, yeah. And the move itself, I welcome it. I mean, I think we touched on it last week a little bit, the idea that it was basically becoming a TikTok / Facebook / YouTube / something, and it didn't really have any soul to it, or it was becoming that way. Whereas I think what made
Toxtagram book.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I like Toxtagram book. But I think what made Instagram, what made people move to Instagram in the first place was the photos and the personal touch. And so now you can put those little status updates, which I haven't personally tried.
Oh, notes. Did that reach Europe and all that stuff now?
Yeah, I think it came up on mine last week or the week before.
Yeah, Chad, I'd be curious if anybody has tried those notes. I'm still trying to see what the point is of them. I've not posted one. I might when I have something coming up. Maybe the live stream tomorrow I might, but it's I struggle to see what its point is. I don't know. And if someone has figured it out, let me know.
Maybe again, it's something to test. Maybe we should test to see what happens to posts when you make a note straight after or straight before, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that might be a good way
but
to go.
To my knowledge, you can't link to you could say, I guess, new post, but you can't actually be click this to see the link, right? I don't.
You can't, no, but it can't, and it comes up on your messages tab.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if it's just increased viewability. I wonder if there's a connection between
That's a good point.
Your note being seen and either you clicking on it, interacting with it, or even just because they can see how long you stay without scrolling on it.
Yeah.
And then see if your video pops up or whatever. So it's interesting to see. But I don't know. The idea of posting photos is a good one. I didn't post because, I didn't post much last year. And most of them, when I did post, were reels. So it's nice to just be able to bring a photo back into the idea. This is what I'm up to.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And for me personally, I was doing really well with reels, let's say from, I want to say March of last year into about August or September. And then the reach just dropped off drastically. And I've just been tweaking like my Reels approach and then trying to post less, trying to post more and things like that. And at a certain point, it kind of feels like that definition of insanity, you know, where it's like, it's just not working. And so now that's when I saw that, I'm like, okay, that makes me think maybe trying these different approaches. And I used to do much more photos, carousels, things like that. And it's nice to do that variety, because Reels can take a lot of time and effort. And even just like converting a YouTube video to 9:16 can take a minute to get those angles right, to change the angle so you get what you want to be shown in that shot. So it's nice to know that you can most likely, we'll let you know next month, do a bit more variety with better results.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it takes a lot of time to make a reel. But if I've got I think the last photo I put was just a photo of me in, it's either in the mirror or it was one that I got taken of me with the Audionautic shirt on. I think, yeah, one account. And it was easy. You know, you just take a photo and then, you know, increases your reach for a bit. It's just in terms of work, spending time on social media. I don't want to spend more time on social media than I have to. I don't want to think about it. I just want to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Let us know in the comments. We have some Instagram users here. We have JBell here, who uses, I know, quite a bit. Bendu dibbles and dabbles on Instagram, as far as I can see. And yeah, I know Shady does a lot of stuff on Instagram. So we'd be curious to hear what you guys think, as well as everyone else, about
definitely
these changes.
If you're listening back on YouTube, let us know in the comments, and then I'll also put this as the question over on our Spotify and Apple podcasts, which, if you want to help the channel, consider leaving a like if you found this video live stream helpful. And if you're watching it back on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit that review. It helps a ton, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
J Bell says, I hate social media. I have a grudge.
Yeah, it's a horrible space to be right now, I think. It's a horrible space to be.
Yeah, that's partly why I've mostly been focusing on YouTube. I mean, it's still kind of social media, I get it, but it's a little bit of a different approach to social media. So, I don't know. It's different. I just kind of enjoy it more, and you got to just do what you enjoy. So, you know, I still use those, but like I have a limit on my phone now, on my iPhone, where after like 15 minutes, it blocks Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So like I just go on there to do the music end of it. Like if I need to post something or respond to stuff or comment or message people, you know, things like that, and that's it.
Cool. Well, I'd like to know what that app is, because I would like to be able to do something.
It's built into the iPhone.
Of course it is.
So I don't know if there's a equivalent with whatever phone type you have, but it's just in the settings on an iPhone. You can limit like how long you can be in an app per day. And then of course there's just, once it hits that notice, it pops up with like, okay, or ignore this. And then you can say like, remind me in 15 minutes, never remind me. So like if you do need more time or something, it's there. But yeah, it's been nice to just like I didn't use Instagram all that much, but it's nice to have that limit and know like just do what I need to do, and I'm done. You know, like I don't need to go on there or anything like that.
That's fair. That's fair. In the chat, we've got Ben who says, as far as social media goes, I like Instagram best due to my preference for expressing myself with just a photo. I resent the Me Too added features. That's fair. I mean, it'd be interesting to see more photos coming from Bendu, from you, mate, in that regard, if they're moving back to photos to this day. And JBell, I recently got hacked and now have an unsafe place to post my posts, and post my posts,
yeah.
That nobody still cares about. I mean, to be fair, I care about the photos, JBell, but it's an interesting
He cares about
story.
the posts you post.
He cares about the posts he posts, but he doesn't care about the post that he posts for whatever he posts. So yeah. It's an interesting story. JBell's is currently unfolding. He recently got hacked, and he's in the process.
Instagram got hacked?
His Facebook got hacked, which is linked to everything else.
Ooh, yeah, that's a bummer, man.
Yeah, and it's drudged up a few things about social media and the social media world and dealing with that kind of thing. Once it's come to its conclusion, I wouldn't mind bringing it to the show so we can kind of dissect it and have a look, because it's really
now I get the grudge that he's talking. I mean, I get the grudge regardless, but given that, I get it, J-Bell, man. That sucks, dude. I'm sorry to hear that.
We'll talk about it.
Benji says, reminds me I have a video I could post on Instagram, but there's 3 dots. Are you not going to post it? And if you are, is it vertical or is it a different portrait or landscape, layout?
I hope it's upside down. That's what I hope.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
J-Bell says post is to posts.
It's rather posty. Yeah.
That got very posty. Yeah.
So yeah, that's our marketing minute. Let us know if there's any additions to that, any caveats listening back. How has it worked for you? I'd like to see how that works out. Personally, I can't wait to see more of Sunwarper's face. So, I see his face every day.
Tune into the live stream, but I don't think it'll have my face because of the angle. Because I just have the one camera that live streams at the moment. But you'll get to see awesome synths making cool doobly-doos, as you would say. So,
That's all I care.
It's still enticing. Really quick, though, I did have one other bit, just real quick, kind of summarizing what Adam Asseri was saying is the goals and plan for Instagram for 2023. I'll just be quick. Inspiring people
post,
to...
Right?
What's that?
The Millie post, content creator tips?
Yeah, we can share it. Yeah, it's just really quick. Modern Millie does really good social media posts on Instagram for growing your Instagram and things like that. So she posted a bit of a summary of some of the videos Adam Asseri has done talking about the goals for Instagram. If you could just go to the 3rd slide. No, the one before it, sorry.
I can't count today.
Yeah. So here's what they're saying is the thing. Inspiring people to be creative. I mean, that's okay. Helping people discover things they love. That is getting to the point of what he said in that live stream where it's if they like photos, they'll see photos. And then sparking connections between people, which is what I think they're trying to do with those notes. And they've said before, and I think we've covered this in a different video, that they view, and they may be changing this due to these revisions to the algorithm, but they view Reels as reaching new people, and to talk to your current followers and friends and family, it's messages and stories. So
that makes sense. That's because you can add messages now to your posts.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So that's just a quick one. I just wanted to go over. If you have anything to comment or chat, if you want to comment on any of that, go for it. But I know we can switch over to the round robin really quick. J-Bell says post office. No, you don't need to stop. He says, okay, I'll stop. I don't mind unless Curtis is getting mad with the posting posts. But Bendu says, I like how Mastodon is shaping up. I have yet to check that out. I need to. The last time I checked it, I was like, I didn't feel like learning a new social media thing. So I don't know. But Bendu, let us know how you're getting on with it. And then J-Bell says, interesting question though. I would be curious to hear if anyone knows alternatives to the usual socials we use. Well, Benji just mentioned one Mastodon. I think there might be a few others that are kind of coming up in the rise of all the things happening on Twitter and things like that. So if anybody knows in the chat, let us know. Mastodon's definitely one to check out.
We can have a dig, bring it back to the show next week.
Yeah.
Some things that we found. Again, Mastodon has been on my mind of things to check, and just again in a similar fashion, it's like, okay, another media. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've been on TikTok, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it is something that we're doing. So
sorry, you have to do that.
But
yeah, we'll take a look. We'll take a look at what else is out there, and if anybody has experience with other social medias that aren't talked about much, or that are new, I should say, like Mastodon or something, head over to our Discord and let us know. The off-topic channel is probably, or the marketing magic. Either of those would be great.
Marketing magic or the off-topic would be nice to see. Yeah. Okay. So that is, and we can do some of that. Our final installment for the day, our final segment, so to speak, the round robin, which is a relatively quick one this week. It's for those who haven't seen this before or tuning in for the first time or watching back or whatever. The round robin is more like a discussive idea. One of us brings something to the show that we talk about. Could be conundrum, could be a piece of production technique, or it could be something existential about.
I was going to say existential quandary, but
Oh, that's even better. Maybe I should let you introduce these. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, and we just sit and we chat about it. Yeah, it's a bit like a fireside chat in a way. So I was reading Pro Audio Files, which is a wonderful website. It's just blogs of different things dating back quite a while. And it came up with 6 realizations that helped me become a better mix engineer. Now these things are always fun, just to kind of get your ears, and
Both.
prick up your ears, or both, yeah, just to kind of see what other people are thinking about when they mix or when they do something or other. And this spoke to me just because part of the reason I've not been doing much music listening this week and is because I'm trying to fix my ears in a way so that I can be a better mix engineer in the long run. We also talked about in our Discord, FCC and Eon Lake were talking about software that you can use to put.
Oh, is that Sunwarper, right?
Yeah. Which when I have $200, I'll do that.
I think it's more to get the microphone too. That does it like proper. But yeah, it looks really cool. For those that don't know what we're talking about, and I haven't used it, so this is coming from a place of somewhat ignorance. But I think, and Eon Lake, if you're still in the chat, you can let us know. But I think it like maps out your room and finds the frequencies that are over loud or out of balance or whatever, and it does frequency changes to, I guess, the master bus or something like that, but like the DAW you're using, and it adds these frequency changes to compensate for all the inequalities in your room. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So for those of us who don't have access to that, we rely solely on our ears and stuff like that,
and reference tracks.
And supposedly, supposedly. That'd be another one. We haven't talked about reference tracks a while. We still have very polarizing ideas of what reference tracks do. But anyway, Eon Lake has just messaged the group WhatsApp saying he might be able to join for the round robin. I think that could do. So Eon Lake, if you can hear us, hopefully you can hear us. Come and join us for the round robin. Come on in, bro. We do have an ADSN WhatsApp group where we all communicate. It's called the ADSN Mandem, and it's quite fun.
Yeah, he was having those were the technical difficulties we were talking about at the beginning. He was having some serious issues with audio and stuff, so we'll bring him in. Hopefully everything's good, because he is missed.
Exactly. So yeah, I've sent him a message to let him come on in. Hopefully he can come on in.
Do you have to give him accept him to come in?
He will pop up on my Google Meet when he comes in. If he has the link, it should be all good. So yeah, 6 realizations. Here he is.
There's the man.
Here he is. Let's bring him in.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you. You can hear us, I hope.
Yeah, that was the sticking point. You couldn't hear us, right?
Yes, that was the problem. It makes it a bit difficult, really.
Yeah, we were talking through WhatsApp and doing miming effects, like go to WhatsApp.
What was the problem in the end?
I haven't 100% fixed it. You're still very quiet, but I can at least hear you.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
All that
composite issue. It's a composite issue. Yeah.
It's the modular man.
One thing messes something else up.
Hydro Fighter is offering some help. He says, phantom power problems?
No.
That's usually Curtis's problem. He forgets to hit the button.
Yep.
Eon Lake seems much more nuanced with his technical issues.
I'm still very much stuck in rookie bedroom producer mode. Turn the right button on.
I remember that one time, Eon, we were just about to go live, and you're like, I'm going to change the microphone thing, and you turn your modular on, and it just shut off all of your audio. He had to go off the call, restart everything, just to come back.
Don't touch anything. Get it working and leave it alone.
How the devil are you, man? How are you feeling?
I'm a bit grumpy. You'll be surprised to hear. Good job on this, the Instagram stuff.
I bet you are. It's your favorite thing, no?
Yeah, I wanted your take on that. I needed that eye roll. I still got to get a video of you doing that eye roll that one episode.
Yeah.
Just so anytime we talk Instagram or something, we just insert that eye roll where he's like,
Yeah. Oh man, and I'm not even a photographer. What most photographers make of Instagram these days?
That's the thing. They all have been complaining that it's been shifting so far to video.
Yeah, they can't do anything about it.
Whatever happened to finding, a gap in the market and occupying it?
It's all about copying.
Like this all the time.
Yeah, it's all about copying and all becoming like the same thing.
Put a lo-fi beat underneath it and you're sorted.
Yeah, you're good. Post the posts that you post with lo-fi beats, right?
Exactly. Lo-fi posts, hashtag. So yeah. What have you been doing, Eon Lake? Tell us what you've been doing before we go back to the round robin.
What have I been doing? I'm still messing around with live set stuff. I've decided that in future now I'm going to do stem export as the last stage of actually doing a song.
Okay.
And that's a good
that,
idea,
that's
just in general.
Because that's no fun. It's great fun once you get it in the other end and you can start messing about with things and creating breaks and chopping things up and so on. But just the admin of it. I guess that's why I don't do it now anyway. I mean, I should be tidier about archiving projects once they're complete. If you're an Ableton user, you should really be doing a collect all and save to a particular directory so that you have everything in one place to restore that project and do stuff with it if you ever needed to. But I think I will start implementing a standard sort of 8-track stem export just so that it's done,
Mm.
Mhm.
And I've also started instead of just doing a live set, I've got a master live set that I'm sort of putting everything in so that I can then trim that down and make smaller live sets, children of it with less in.
Mm-hmm.
Just so it's done.
Yeah.
So I never have to look back until it's time to put more songs in,
Yeah.
Yeah. And messing around with scene mode on the BeatStep Pro.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like kind of like pattern chaining, a bit like an Ableton scene in the sense where you can store pattern chains, but you can have a different pattern chain for the 3 different channels for drums, sequence 1, sequence 2, so they can be bouncing between different pattern numbers while you're doing that, and you save it all together.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of cool.
I want to check out one of those, the BeatStep or the KeyStep at some point, but
It's a nice way of just sequencing away from the computer as well.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you can play notes in, but you can also just turn a load of notes on and use the knobs to just select which pitch you want for each one as well. I like the fact there's more than one way you can get the information in.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, should we get back to the round robin? We only got a couple minutes left, so
Yeah, let's get to it. So, 6 realizations that helped me be a better mix engineer, essentially. And so I wanted to bring to the table, as I normally do with these things, in the idea of what's missing. What have they missed? There's some very cool ideas here. I'm not going to go through it word for word, just going to give you the gist, but what's missing from this idea, right? So we have number 1, finishing projects is everything. Fairly self-explanatory. Best way to learn, best way to get through.
Yeah, we always preach that.
Yeah.
Get it about like, I don't want to say 90%, but get it impeccable, but it's never going to be perfect. So get it out and take what you learned and move it on to the next one. Definitely.
Exactly, yeah. Number 2, metering is there to help you. So obviously with your ears, but also we now have lots of visual ideals. So we do spectrum, for example, or even just a parametric EQ. Lovely to see these things personally. Having a dud ear, having some visual aspect is really fun and nice and useful.
Yeah, one thing I like to do is use a meter, like a multimeter in Logic, which has a bunch of different things, or just an EQ, a visual EQ, to compare a reference track, Curtis, and see what the difference in frequencies, the difference in like where your bass is compared to theirs, how their high end looks compared to yours, things like that. The mids especially is what I always like to look at, like what their mids are doing compared to mine.
Yeah.
If you do particularly hard dance music, you may want to have a look using an oscilloscope at your bass and your kick to see if there's phase cancellation going on between those. You can see the waves get flattened at the top at times and get chewed up a little bit, and you can maybe shorten the length of your kick drum or do something with the envelope of it to stop them from clashing so much and cancelling each other.
Interesting.
Things like that are kind of useful.
It's interesting. Before we move on, we've got Bendu who says, Eon Lake, I'm in the same boat. Bunch of digging through projects and prepping versions of finished stuff for live performance. It's dull and necessary. Dull and necessary.
Only once you get to rehearsals that it starts to really be fun, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
All that admin, as you say. And Jable says there's some nice tools for oral training. Sound Gym, train your ears. I was going to talk about this on another round robin. Yeah, Sound Gym. It's got a lot bigger.
We will talk about it in another round robin next week, perhaps.
Good idea.
I'll find a thing.
Thank you, J-Bell, and Curtis's past self, apparently.
Yeah, nice. Just from watching Venus Theory this morning.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, training your ears. It's a very good way of doing things. So metering is there to help you, number 2. Number 3, this is a massive one for me. Gain compensation is huge. The idea that when you add VSTs or add plugins to your effects chain, some of them by default have gain in them or are adding gain to the chain, which if you don't keep on, you can add quite a bit of gain to your mix without you even realizing, which fills it up quite quickly.
Man, the Logic stock compressor always has it as default. It's like up by 5 or something dB, I forget what, but there's like 3 settings, and the default one's always like -12 or something, so it bumps it all up. And it's easy with compressors that do add that, or any effect. One of the key things they're talking about, it's good to know because things just keep going up and up, so it'll start peaking and things like that. But things always will sound better when you put on something that makes it louder, because it's louder. Like we were talking at the start of the episode, when you mix louder, like it hides a lot of issues. So you want to make sure it does go back to that same level, and that's where metering comes in handy, because then you can test what it was reaching before you added that plugin, and then when you add it, put it back to that, so that you know what it's doing is not just adding volume, it's actually changing something.
Very much so. Yeah.
There's a well-known. I mean, one thing that I wish I'd known more about very early on was psychoacoustic effects.
Yep.
Like certain stereo effects make things sound louder. Even a 1 dB increase in volume, our ears are somehow tuned to liking things that are louder. So that's kind of what they're talking about here. If you accidentally do bump up the volume by adding some any kind of treatment, your ears will think it sounds better just because by virtue of the fact that it's louder, and so you're not necessarily hearing the change that you're making. You're just thinking, that's an improvement, and all you've done is just turned it up, really.
And that's huge with compressors. That's exactly what I was saying. Like compressors can do that if they have the volume range or volume increase as default. It can hide what it's actually doing. It just it sounds better, so I throw it on.
Yeah, and your ears respond at different ranges. If you over-compress a sound, it's harder to tell at high volume than it is. It's much easier to tell at low volume because you can hear it sound flappy or clicky or weird. Yeah,
it gives credence to these days where some bands and artists are going back to recording onto analog without any bus compression or anything like that. And it's all a bit more stripped back, a bit like it was in the 70s and the 80s, that kind of thing, which is really nice to see.
We used to go for tape compression on bass and drums by running it a little hot. On 2-inch 24-track tape, because there's so much width to it. You could actually get some compression off the tape itself, and it did make it sound warmer. It was nice.
Well, there you go.
What's number 4, Curtis?
My mantra, the same but better. So the idea that is you don't always have to make a change, or you don't have to always alter a sound to make it better. The idea that the idea that the elements are already in the mix themselves should be enough, or to a degree should be enough, and it's about mixing their volume and their amplification as opposed to adding creative effects, reverb, delay, that kind of thing. Go with the sounds that you've got, especially if you're mixing for someone else or mixing for a client or something like that. If you're mixing for someone else, go with what you've got first as opposed to then screwing with the sound design, that kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that one, gents?
No,
I'm kind of with that.
We're all in agreement there.
Yeah.
It's not. I like this one as well. It's not as complicated as you think. Don't overthink it. I'm a classic overthinker. The idea of tweaking, going back. I think we've all done it. Does it sound good? I think. Basically, does it sound good? And if it does, leave it. If you can get a sound coming from your microphone and you can hear the other people in the show, leave it.
Stop making the dub wub wubs with your microphone, Curtis.
Exactly. And finally, the artist's experience is what counts. Put it on to a place where I took this to mean in the sense that there is no particular right, there is no particular wrong. It's what the artist's sound is going for. So I have quite a wonky sound. I have quite a rough sound, you could say. It's not very polished, but that's kind of the stuff that I make, and it's about my experience in that regard, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Not sure I 100% agree with that, but okay.
Tell us why you disagree, Ian. Like,
I just don't think it's that rough yourself.
So you agree with number 6. You don't agree with Curtis's sound assertions.
I don't agree with Curtis's appraisal of his sound.
Yeah.
okay.
Necessarily. I strongly disagree with anything about that.
Whoa, strongly disagree. That's heated, man.
That's interesting. All right, I will. I'll write.
You need to reassess yourself, Curtis.
You sound quite polished, and you know.
That's very sweet. I'm a bit lost for words, really. I mean, yeah.
That's how you do it.
Floored him. You floored him.
Nothing to say to that other than thank you.
Yeah, I think one thing, and I was checking something with the live stream, but I think one thing with that is to also not get complacent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, let's say your sound is dirty or rough or something like that, but you should always still, and I'm not saying it is. Ian, like, don't come after me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you should always, at least in my opinion and how I feel, is that you, I, whomever, should always try to be learning, not just like being like, well, my sound's dirty, so I'm just going to stick with this clipping or this and that, you know? And I'm not saying, again, that that's you. I'm just saying, like, as an example, if you're like, yeah, you use it as an excuse to just have, like, rough sounds or something, when you could still get that gritty sound with, like, tape or something like that, or tape emulation, but have a polished, and maybe you don't want to go for polish, but you get what I mean? Like, you should always be trying to learn. And maybe you like that sound now, but maybe for your next album, you want to pursue something different. So you should always have that thirst for knowledge and to learn.
I think it's about the setting as well. Yeah, like if you're making like the sound of, say, sound of an ambient banger would be very different to a lo-fi bop, you know? And that's done on purpose, and there's a reason for that. So I suppose it's about setting as well in that regard.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think also you need to not be too critical. I think people can be overcritical when they're mixing. It's like, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? You know, and I think you can get into a negative spiral with that, and you can start to question everything, and you know, get into various places that are not particularly artistic. And again, you know, you're supposed to be exercising and expressing your art and polishing it and honing it. You don't want to be too critical. You know, you're supposed to be assessing relatively impassively what you're experiencing. I think it's important to focus on that, and it's not like I'm looking for problems. It's just I'm listening, I'm hearing, and you can think about it in terms of what's working, what's really working, what's not working as much. You know, try and frame it a bit more positively, so that you're not falling into that negative mindset of just nitpicking and then just not trusting anything, and you know, going to a dark place and ending up with a crap mix as a result.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah, completely. I think the onus to that in the terms of what's missing from that regard is the idea of have an outcome. I think that's done a lot quicker, a lot easier if you kind of get an idea of how you want the track to sound and where you want it to go for it. Now, this is where Sunwarper starts talking about reference tracks. Yeah, if that's what you want to do, then yeah, reference tracks are a way forward. You know,
you use the right ones, though.
You got to use the right ones. Yeah,
that's quite true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't use an ambient or all acoustic guitar track for like a, you know, massive drum IDM track or something like that.
No. But having that clear vision about where you want to go allows you to kind of chip through. Now, we get that to different ways. I don't particularly use reference tracks. I just never really found a reason for it. Maybe in the name of learning.
I would love to see you try. That'd be interesting.
Okay, all right. I tell you what. Okay, I'll do an EP. I'll do an EP this year, and I'll do it with some reference tracks.
There you go. Yeah.
I'll put it together, see what goes on. But yeah, what's missing, gents? That's the main question here. I want to bring. What's the piece of information that you found so useful but is missing from this list?
Oh, I had one as well. Forgotten it now.
Damn.
Damn. What are we talking about? Things we wish we'd known at the beginning? That's
what we were doing last week. Yeah, things we wish we knew at the beginning when we started this.
Well, really quick, while Ian thinks of it, J Bell in the chat says you got to trust your ears and know you are being lazy. So I think I already kind of
know when you are being lazy.
Yeah, when you are being lazy.
Yeah, when you're being lazy. Yeah.
I think that's huge, but I mean that kind of goes in with what I was saying, and I'm not gonna go again because I already kind of said it. That what I felt was missing was like, don't get complacent.
Yeah.
Always try to learn new things, because it can drastically change how you approach mixing. Like if I never learned more about mixing from when I was making stuff in 2016, all my guitars would have these like nasty frequency scoops in weird spots that just make them sound dead. So, you know, I still don't know why I did that, but
you've got that story from when you did Glass Tourist.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I opened it up and I was like, what was I thinking? Like what? And I know what I was thinking. Like philosophically, I was like, oh, it's like the human aspect is buried behind screens and stuff, like for phones and all that. You know, whatever existential thought I was going for at the time. So I made the guitar sound very like dead and in the background, but there's just like they're just not there because of it. Like there's a good making it sound dead and in the background. There's not, and that was the not. So yeah,
but you never would have realized that if you didn't do it.
The biggest reveal has been monitoring. It has been, without a question. So back in the day when I used to work in the studio, we had various monitors that had quite clear characteristics, like the old NS10s. And we had some Westlakes and some Uris, and they had you got used to how they sounded, and you knew how the control room sounded, and everything was cool. And then when I started doing music myself, it was originally on headphones. I didn't have too many problems on headphones. I really started running into problems when I set up my studio properly and had monitors for the first time. And I thought, well, it's just a question of getting to know the monitors like I did before, getting to know the room and where the bass bin, where the standing waves are and so on, so that you can sit in your bass trap and check the low end and so on. But I was having huge problems with mixes not transferring and having to cross-reference everywhere. And it was only when I started using, software that we've spoken about a number of times on the Discord server and so on. That
we were talking about it on here, SonarWorks, right?
Yeah.
The one? Yeah, we were talking about it before you hopped on. Yeah, you can probably give it more justice than we did in explaining what it does.
Well, what it did was, these monitors have been calibrated by them, these headphones, and I've actually got a specific file for these ones. They measured them in a lab, and they've got an EQ curve setting and a phase setting that's applied to both of them that flattens them, makes the response just flat, so you can hear everything. It doesn't flatter anything, doesn't boost low end or high end. It just but you can hear everything, and you can hear separation, and you can hear balance and so on. The monitor equivalent comes with a microphone, and it plays a load of test tones out of your monitors, and you move around and you record these test tones, and it basically builds up a profile of what the frequency response in your listening position is and what the phase is like. And it will apply, again, the EQ curve and so on to flatten out your monitors. The difference on my horrible little KRK Rocket 5s is incredible. The amount of low mids that get scooped out, the amount of very low end that gets shoved in because they start to tail off at a certain point. And also the difference between left and right, both on my headphones and on the monitors, is huge. I mean, they're not the same at all. But as soon as I did that and I started mixing on that, immediately everything started transferring. I'm not saying all my mixes were bang on, but that problem that I had with not knowing what the hell it was going to sound like until I played it somewhere else was gone. It would sound pretty much there. Maybe there'd be a few things I'd want to tweak, but I just didn't have that problem anymore. And that was massive for me.
Interesting. I mean,
that was something I wish I'd learned. The other thing, I guess, is that there isn't just one way to mix. You don't just get a mix wrong. You can structure a mix in a number of different ways, depending on what it is you're trying to do with the mix and what you want it ultimately to sound like. And you may want to do a couple of different balances, depending on the kind of music you're making, where it's going to get played and so on. So it's not necessarily, it's not like a calculation that you can get wrong and it's got one answer. There's more than one way to do it. There's more than one way to approach it. There's more than one way to balance it. It's a consideration as much as everything that you did before. And you do need to trust your ears a little bit. You do need to have a vision a bit about where you want to go with it. But try and keep it positive is my advice, and not get too critical about things. As if you feel like they're not quite right, just do what you can, but try and keep it positive.
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Try
and
Nobody's
enjoy
going
it
to top that. I think that's what we call it.
I think that's a good way of doing it. Yeah, we'd like to know if you guys watching back in the chat or watching back, what are your top mixing tips? We'd love to know. Either let us know here or in our Discord. As you say, there's so many different ways of doing it. Every regular Audionaut has a different way of doing these things, and it's lovely finding out how we do it. So let us know how you think, and thank you ever so much for joining us today. It's been lovely to see what you guys are up to, checking in with the crowd. It's lovely.
Yeah, and of course, the conversation always continues on our Discord, so if you want to keep talking, head over there. And if you need some new music or just want to check out what we've been listening to lately, you can check out the Audionautic Radio playlist over on Spotify. The link is also in the description. It's got the latest in chill, electronic, ambient music. We'd love to have you over there. And if you want to submit anything, you can submit over on Twitter at Audionautic or at Sunwarper.
So I'm just happy that Eon Lake was here today. To catch him before he went away. It's always nice. Nice one. Keep everything as it is, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, don't shut it. Just leave it. Just kidding.
Why don't you just stay on the call until next week?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been lovely. We'll be back again next week. Sunwarper's doing a live stream tomorrow. So yeah, we'll look forward to that. But until then, thank you very much. Ciao.
Thanks for watching.